CEOs, how to identify the good ones and how to help the other types be better. This is a quick bit from the Integrated Thinking series. This means that we're going to move fast and quick, and if you would like a PDF version of this, please reach out to me and I can go ahead and send it to you. When we're talking about CEOs, it's useful to first understand what the market looks like. And the way that I understand the market is having worked with a bunch of CEOs firsthand, as well as analyzing CEO evaluations from business publications. One of the challenges is that some of the people that are responsible for judging the value of existing or potential CEOs have an opportunity to better know what a good CEO should look like. And that's going to help everybody. To identify a good CEO, it's important to realize that the good CEOs leverage integrated thinking. There are a lot of reasons why integrated thinking is far superior to siloed thinking. If you were to sum it all up, siloed thinking maximizes parts of the business at the expense of the whole. Integrated thinking maximizes the whole, which strengthens every part, and in a much, much better way. And when we're talking about how integrated thinking is far superior to siloed thinking, integrated thinking positively impacts enterprise alignment, superior customer experience, innovation, efficiency and profitability, and also future-proofing the organization. To make this all more intuitive going forward, we're going to use Walmart and Sears CEOs as examples. Here we're going to take a look at a couple of charts that describe the difference between Walmart's integrated thinking versus Sears siloed thinking. At Walmart, thinking was holistic, cross-functional, and collaborative. At Sears, thinking was narrow, department-focused, and very protective. At Walmart, they consider the enterprise-wide impact and long-term value of decision-making. At Sears, they optimize departmental success, often at the expense of the company as a whole. You can hit pause to look at the comparison in more detail. The difference in the thinking impacted innovation, speed and agility, employee engagement, use of data and AI, risk management, and especially profitability. You can use the two previous charts as a checklist to see how good your CEO is. Basically, you'd give yourself a check mark for every time your company or CEO thinks more like Walmart and less like Sears. A perfect score would be 11. The CEOs that dismiss integrated thinking don't fully appreciate that Walmart-like thinking drives Walmart-like results, and that Sears-like thinking drives Sears-like results. One thing you can go ahead and ask senior management is, who do we want to be more like? This integrated thinking process that you're going to see first got started after a casual conversation with the CEO. As we were leaving a meeting, he said he really wanted to grow the company, and I gave him some ideas. But then he paused and said, what I really need to know is how to best invest in the company. And when I sat down to figure it out, it turns out that unless you know how the decisions in Area A affect the decisions in Area B and how it affects the whole given the flow of business, you're not going to know how to best invest. And the reason is because there's trade-off decisions that need to be made. And when it comes to the difference between integrated thinking and siloed thinking, the difference makes a huge difference. Here's something to think about. You can have the best people, processes, data, and systems, the best of everything, and still fail to thrive if you don't know how it all fits together. It's just that simple. What Walmart understands and what Sears refused continually to ever understand is that good business is about three things. What I learned at Walmart is that good business is about just three things. 1, understanding the flow of the customer's experience. 2, understanding the flow of the business. And 3, understanding how all of your decisions and actions impact those two flows. That's it. Now that we've covered how to evaluate CEOs, what we're going to cover is how siloed thinking CEOs can think and act more like integrated thinking CEOs. A good way for CEOs to both understand the benefits of integrated thinking as well as explain it to the rest of the company is to do a quick exercise, and this is fun to do as a workshop. Take 3 groups of people and have each group assemble the exact same jigsaw puzzle. The first group with the puzzle pieces face down, the second group with the puzzle pieces face up, and the third group with the puzzle pieces face up and with a copy of the puzzle box lid. Which group is going to be the happiest, the fastest, the most productive? The group with the puzzle box lid. Now that you've done the puzzle exercise, here's 3 questions you can ask yourself. Does your company know what its puzzle box lid looks like? Do your competitors know what their puzzle box lid looks like? And is there a chance that your competitors might know what your puzzle box lid looks like better than you do? And if they do, yikes. Here's another something to think about. Both the customers and the company need to win at the same time. You can't optimize the flow of the customer experience and the flow of the business at the same time if you don't know what the flow looks like. In the words of one person at a company that was helped, would you trust builders that didn't know what the blueprints look like? No. And yet this feels like what we've been doing in business the entire time. I've worked at companies where they called in motivational speakers to say, rah, 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 the customer is our number one priority. And then later on that same day at a shareholders meeting, the CEO says our shareholders are our number one priority. You can think of the customers as being one handrail of the boat and the investors being the other handrail of the boat. And running from handrail to handrail just rocks the boat. What senior management really needs to do is highlight that bright, shiny star off on the horizon that you need to drive both handrails to. Here is an easy and quick way to go ahead and explain integrated thinking in business to your team members. You can highlight that within the organization, there's marketing, finance, operational, HR, and IT, as well as a bunch of other functional silos. But it's the flow of the customer's experience and the flow of business that actually cut across those silos, so it's imperative to know how those silos fit together. However, good CEOs have a more advanced understanding regarding how the flow of the customer experience and how the flow of the business fit together. It turns out that the flow of the customer experience is nested within the flow of business. And it's the job of everyone in the company to optimize the flow of the customer experience and to optimize the flow of the business at the same time. And optimizing these flows is so much easier when you know what both the flows look like and how they fit together. This is where we're going to wind up. And it's essentially the flow of business with the consumer's experience flow built within it. Years ago, I showed this framework to a summer intern. Later on, they came into my office, put a hand on my shoulder, and looked at me as a loved one of mine had just died and said, "Ken, I don't mean to insult you, but all you've done is write down common sense." My response was, "I know, right? This should be taught in high schools. As soon as a high school student gets a job, they're in business. Let's take 45 minutes out of their day and teach them." Don't worry if you didn't get it in that one quick glance. What happens is we're going to go ahead and derive the model, and at the end of it, you'll go, this is just taking a bunch of stuff I already know and putting it together. And that's the whole point. And it all starts off with what it is that we are given. And what we are given is the subject that we're taking a look at, and this can be the company, a product, a project, anything that can be driven from potential to profitability and the points in between. Then the playing field, then the objectives, then the customer perceptions of value, and then potential, which I like to think of as profit pools. And given what it is that we're given, then we can take a look at what it is that we do about it. What we do about it involves figuring out what it is that we're going to offer and how we hook people from getting them to learn about what we do, like what we do, purchase or continue to repurchase what we do, their total experience to the total value we deliver to the customer. This portion of the customer experience is something that I usually do as interpretive dance at a conference, but here I'll just go ahead and speak through it. Essentially, what we're trying to do is get into the customer's head for them to learn about what it is we're offering, to their smile to like what it is that we're offering, to their hands or feet to do something about it, that's to come in and purchase, and then to their hearts for loyalty, We want to win over the whole customer. And with what we're given and what we do about it, we can then take a look at the results. The results being price, quantity, given what we can collect, which equals revenue, and then the fixed costs and variable costs being the total costs. Put those things together and we get earnings, and then perceive future trends, and there's a whole different session about that, and then the total value delivered to the company. And after taking a look at with what you're given, what you do about it, and what the results are, you can now take a moment to determine how successful were you. There are a lot of different ways to define success, but one good way to look at how successful you were is to take a look at the value that was delivered to the customer and the value that was delivered to the company and the balancing point between those two things. You put it all together and what you get is the base model as to how the business flow and the customer experience flow fit together. On top of this model, you can now layer in things like your objectives. Your objectives act as anchors for your strategies. Then you can strip in your operational strategy and your marketing strategy. Quick note, the reason it says result of your marketing strategy is because different people will start their marketing strategies in different places. And you can layer in your financial strategy. The result of your financial strategy is the value that's delivered back to the company. You can even layer in the different customer strategies. Given the flows, your objectives, all of the strategies, you can then come up with a balanced strategy. And this is what is key for setting that star on the horizon to drive everyone to. Yeah, this is all fine and good, but in practical terms, how do you implement this stuff? You can think of this worksheet as a Mad Lib-like fill-in-the-blank workshop exercise. It's actually a lot of fun. I've seen people build business models that were pretty good in 20 minutes. The application of this model is applicable to all the functions within a company. It even applies to HR. If you take the flow of the organization and you layer in the people analytics and put the business metrics on top of that, you then know almost everything there is to know about the company. And it's not enough to just have data. You need to know how the data fits together. If you gave Sears and Walmart the exact same data, Walmart could tell you how to get from Dempster to Midway. They go, oh, it's the yellow line to the red line to the orange line. Sears wouldn't have a clue, and they would never have a clue. When it comes to data, here are just some of the data challenges / opportunities. There's organizational, data integration problems, emerging and strategic challenges, especially as you get into AI, analytics and insights, cultural issues, data accessibility issues, poor data cataloging, and the list goes on. KPIs, scorecards, and dashboards are great, but if you don't know how any of the metrics fit together or how they optimize the flow of both the customer experience and the flow of the business at the same time, they can mean nothing, or worse yet, damage the organization. Here's a quick retail example. There are 5 basics to retail. Make it easy for people to get in, find what they need at a price that they think is fair, make it easy for them to pay, and make it easy for them to get back out again. Just like the rest of the model, once you understand this portion of the flow, you can then populate it with data to ask some really good questions regarding how to best optimize this flow. Things like, what's working well in the flow, what isn't? How do our competitors manage this flow? And if I had one more dollar to invest, where should I invest it first to help better optimize the flow? And here's an example in healthcare. Almost everyone goes through the same healthcare journey. If you journey map what that looks like, it's then easier to figure out how to best optimize the customer experience flow and many times the business flow as well along the way. If you layer several of the business models together, you can then describe an entire ecosystem. And once you know what an ecosystem looks like, you can have much better control over it. I'm more than happy to walk you through this if you like. Just reach out to me. It's actually a lot of fun. Many don't realize how threatening inaction is to their business. Some say, yeah, this is all well and good, but we'll just keep doing things the way we've always done it. Sears was really big into Six Sigma. Unfortunately, they were also big into siloed thinking, which means oftentimes they would be really great at putting the shiniest, best coat of paint possible on a car that was often totaled upside down and in a ditch. Great execution, but wildly off in terms of prioritization. Integrated thinking can help fix this. And when you layer in AI, things get really interesting very quickly. When you combine AI with integrated thinking, it can really help improve strategic clarity and smarter decision making, as well as driving improvements in productivity and process optimization, as well as customer and market insights. Heck, just making these better alone can go ahead and change the trajectory of the future of your organization. AI and integrated thinking can help drive improvements in innovation and growth. All of this can improve a company's culture as well as drive a competitive advantage, which is really key. The next steps. An easy first next step is to reframe the way that you think. Life, data, business, everything, it's like a Surratt oil painting because it's nothing but a series of dots. But if you know how all those dots fit together, you can take a step back and see the larger picture, which gives you better control of that picture. The good news is organizing your thinking is free. And make sure to share this with others as well, because when you're all taking a look at the same puzzle box lid, everything gets so much easier. You can apply this in your area first and then work outward. And you can also reach out to Ken if you have any question or if you have any feedback. And since this went relatively quickly, if you'd like a PDF version, simply reach out and that can be sent to you as well. Thanks.